ThaBoxingvoice.com over here with head of ShowTime Sports, Stephen Espinoza, at the press conference for Adrian Broder, Mikey Garcia. Tremendous fight this summer. Probably for the last 2 years, your network has significantly put in investment in the sport of boxing. It's been great for boxing fans. You've outdistanced your competitors significantly. Boxing fans are becoming accustomed to this. Almost on a monthly basis, we are getting high-quality fights on ShowTime. Boxing fans want this to continue. From your conversations with your colleagues at the network, is this a trend that we can expect going forward in the future as well?
Yeah, you know, we don't have a year like we've been having without wide support throughout the company. I mean, we've done now through the end of July, we'll have 19 live boxing telecasts, and you know, we've had 6 times we'd have 2 top 5 guys in the division fighting each other. So we're really proud about the quality, not just of the main events, but of the co-features as well. And the audience is responding. You know, the publicity is responding. You know, there's a real sense of momentum. So as long as the audience continues to respond and give us the positive feedback, then there'll continue to be support for it to continue throughout the company.
And also, what I also have to make note that you've also been doing a great job on the ShowBox Series 2, which throughout 2017 has put on some great fights, including some Fight of the Year candidates. Yeah. So we appreciate that. A lot of fights that we see on the main network, they're done in coordination with the Premier Boxing Champions, which has a lot of great fighters. Sometimes they take a loss, but they also, it seems like everybody, if they're a competitive action fighters, they get more fights. Almost kind of like a UFC kind of thing. Right. Is that the kind of model that it's fleshing out to be?
Yeah, you know, there's people within boxing and fans have always said, look, we're not as wedded to the undefeated. Everyone has sort of said, look, undefeated is not that important, but it's never really been implemented. You've never really seen it. And look, we're in a situation now, you know, Porter takes a loss or 2, no big deal. You know, Danny Garcia takes a loss. He says, look, I've gotten more respect out of that loss, more recognition out of that loss than out of any win. So I think fighters are now seeing, look, you can take a loss and you'll get big fights, continue to get big fights, and that makes big fights easier to happen.
And also the fact that, just let's speak frankly, that you're not putting on crap fights. So you're not going to reward fighters if they're not going to put on the effort, right? Right.
It works both ways. I mean, fighters know that we're holding them to a certain level, a certain standard. And fighters are competitive too. Because no fighter is sitting at home looking at big fight after big fight and saying, I want to be the one who breaks the streak. You know, because if I take a stay busy fight, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb.
So you feel pretty confident to say we're not going to see crap matchups anymore ever on your network?
Well, you know, we always do our best to avoid crap matchups, but the reality is, you know, at some point, you know, the run slows down a little bit. You know, you can't have monster fight every single fight. But, you know, I think we've gotten a level of recognition for the sport and a level of momentum that no one wants to break. And the good thing is, I don't think we'll need to slow down that much in the near future. If you look at Errol Spence or Keith Thurman or Deontay, or even younger guys like Gervonta Davis, yeah, you know, Erickson Lubin, absolutely. You know, Jared Hurd, you know, both of the Charlos. I mean, you're talking, you know, you're talking guys, you know, in their early to late 20s. So these guys, in particular in the welterweights, you've got, you know, Garcia, Spence, you know, Thurman, Porter. You can continue for several years off that. There's no reason that any of that should slow down.
Plenty of matchups to make up. Now, we had a terrific light heavyweight championship this weekend where we had Andre Ward, in my opinion, soundly defeating Sergey Kovalev. There's another light heavyweight champion. Some consider him, or he is technically the lineal champion, great power puncher, Adonis Stevenson. Is this a matchup that your network, again, to pay the minimum purses for these 2 fighters, it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to get it on the cheap. You're going to have to ante up for it. But do you see your network having interest in a potential Adonis Stevenson, Andre Ward matchup?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, whether it's, you know, Andre Ward or, you know, a guy like, you know, Badu Jack, you know, at some point in the near future, Badu is going to be at 175. So I think that division, which has been a little bit sort of top heavy, you know, you've got a clear top of the division, and then there's a fairly big drop off. think it's about to become a little bit more interesting in the near future.
Now, the fight that everybody wants to talk about, Mayweather-McGregor, huge fight, could be the biggest fight in boxing history, eclipsing the work that you did with Mayweather-Pacquiao. You know, fans are just really jonesing to interact with these fighters, and we would expect we would see a press conference or press conferences across the country, if not across the world soon, where press and the fans can come out and see these fighters?
Yeah, I think, you know, Floyd is sort of set the tone on it. You know, he did a really successful press tour in the Canelo fight. I don't think we're going to see something like that. That was something ridiculous, like 9 cities in 10 days. But we will see a multi-city press tour with several stops, including, you know, fan access to those, because, you know, part of the fun of these two guys is their personalities. I mean, it's really why the fight got made, is because there's such an intriguing fight and intriguing promotion.
And could we expect Gervonta Davis and Badou Jack on the undercard for Mayweather-McGregor?
Well, you know, that's certainly Floyd's intention. So, assuming we can find some high-quality fights, then certainly so. I mean, Gervonta is sort of developed very quickly into a really, really great young champion. One of, you know, my favorite fighters to watch. He's just got a level of ferocity, and he has clearly demonstrated that he's, even at his young age, he's not hesitant to take tough fights.
Is Gervonta Davis fight against Tevin Farmer, who we've seen on Showtime Extreme before, a fight that you would perhaps like to see on the
you know, there's been some trash talk there. You know, there's an interesting mix of styles. You've got a regional rivalry. I think that could be a really interesting fight. You know, and there's some other good, solid contenders at 130 that could make a lot of sense.
And then the name we've been hearing about Badou Jack is Nathan Cleverly, former 175-pound champion. That could be a good matchup. Is that a matchup you're okay with too as well?
Yeah, I think so. You know, Cleverly has been at the world title level before, and it's one of those, you know, good step-up fights. You know, whoever comes out of that fight really steps up to world title contention level.
And last question before you leave. Typically the fall, because of college football and the NFL, the boxing schedule traditionally is slowed down a little bit. Could we expect perhaps a small slowdown and then a couple of big shows at the end of the year?
Absolutely. I mean, the tough one, the tough month in particular is October. You know, because between World Series, college football, NBA is starting early this year, NHL starts mid-October. It's the only month where you've literally got 5 either pro or big college sports going on, and the biggest of all, obviously, the World Series. So I think we'll be pretty quiet. You know, we're going to go in early September, very likely, with Mares and Santa Cruz, the rematch. And then we'll probably...
Not to interrupt, but the Mares Santa Cruz card, that can have the Durrell and Callum Smith light heavyweight championship on that card too as well?
That's one place that could land. You know, that needs to happen sometime really, really quickly in the fall. So, but I do think we'll be kind of quiet in October and come back November and December. And you know, I think everyone's expecting Joshua Klitschko 2, which would be a phenomenal way to end the year.
Perhaps a return of Errol Spence?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he wants to be busy. He has definitely made it clear he wants to fight before the end of the year. Ideally, he'd love to fight in Dallas and headline a card at home, where he's generated a lot of attention. I think that's very possible.
That's your neck of the woods, right?
It is. You know, Dallas hasn't been a fight town in quite a while, so it would be great. It's a great market. It's a big sports market. And if we can open up that market with Errol Spence, I think it's great for the sport.
Listen, boxing fans out there, you know the man and the network that's been bringing you the best fights over the last 2 or 3 years. Right over here, Steven Espinoza. We appreciate your time and courtesy, sir.
Anytime.
Thank you.